MIDDLEKAUFF! Hey, hey! What's up, everybody? Welcome. It is a Sunday night, Sunday evening. Coming up on Monday. If you listen to this after the fact on Monday, but before Monday Night Football, we'll be on Monday night. YouTube Live after the Monday Night Football game.
If you're listening, share with your friends. This podcast got 24 hours to marinate.
Yeah, that's right. This is going to be a tight, well, we'll see. The plan here, since it's Sunday, and we're going to do another one Monday, is to do a tight, like John said, quick marinator, and then have something new out on Monday night as well, and live on the tube. So that's what the deal is. We are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Thanksgiving week is here. You're going to walk in empty-handed? No. Walk in with some Tito's.
Easiest gift you can possibly get, guy. You go to the local store wherever alcohol is sold, and Tito's will be right there. And you grab a liter, you grab a handle, and you take it to your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your sister-in-laws, wherever the heck you're going. You come, walk in that door, and you watch everyone start smiling. And hell, maybe they're not smiling because they're already arguing. You just start drinking, and
you'll
I'll
be
promise
smiling.
you'll start smiling.
You know what, too? You could, I'm going to go through here, John. I'm just going to pick, I think, a Tito's from the Tito'sVodka.com. Something that not only will I show up with the Tito's, but then you're like, hey, guys, I'm making everybody Tito's cider mules, right? Spice cider mule. You just show up with some, you get some hot apple cider, you get some ginger beer, and some Tito's. That is all you need. Apple cider spiced, you warm it up, some ginger beer, some Tito's. Bam.
You got a holiday drink right there, right before the turducken.
Right before the turducken. Right between the Lions game and the Cowboys game.
Yeah.
And who else? What's the other game?
Patriots, Minnesota.
That's the night game. Big bounce back opportunity for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Tito's Handmade Vodka, John. It is numero uno. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Namely, 80 proof.
Oh,
crafted to be savored responsibly. Also brought to you by, speaking of the games, DraftKings. DraftKings. Download the app. Use the code HAM when you sign up. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code HAM at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yep, guy. Plus, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code HAM like Guy said. Place a $5 bet any NFL team to win their game. You get $150 in free bets. That's code HAM, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Here's what we're looking at right now, John. For Monday night, Niners are -8 at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The Bills on Thursday. A couple ideas for Thursday, by the way. You got the Bills -10. Lions are hot. They've won 3 in a row. The Giants are +8 at the Cowboys. You know what I noticed today looking at the Giants? Because they suck, even though they're 7-3.
They're coming back to earth hard.
John, I think they might win like 9 games this year. I looked at their schedule. They play Dallas this week. They play the football team twice.
Loss.
They play Philly twice. They play Minnesota.
Loss.
They play Indy.
Loss.
So they could go 2-5, miss the playoffs down the stretch here. They have played 10 games. Today they got beat by whatever the final score was. I don't know, 31-18 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it became a one-score game. I think the final was 31-23 or something, but it was not that.
I don't think it finished a one-score game. Did it?
I thought I saw it come up across the ticker. I thought, but I mean,
final score 31-18. So not a one-score game.
31-18. Not a one-score game.
The Giants have played in 8 one-score games this year. 8 out of 10. That's insane.
I got my Buffalo-Cleveland game mixed up. That was 31-23.
Gotcha. Patriots-Vikings, the night game, Vikings -3. By the way, if you're not, this is not part of the ad anymore, but if you're not in a DraftKings Sportsbook, I think one thing would be fun on a Thanksgiving, you got people coming over, get everybody in one little single-day daily fantasy game with those 3 games. Just the Thanksgiving games, a one-day daily fantasy DraftKings. Might be a fun thing to do if you're not in a Gambling State. Just a little idea, a little something that popped in my little old brain.
Well, I think there's only one now, non-gambling state. It just happens to be one with the base of our listeners. But California just, be 2020 75 and it won't be gambling. Doesn't make any sense.
I'm just a lot of bingo, John. I don't
understand. It's still, when I think about it, what is going on? What is going on?
All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to move along here. But I don't know. One day.
But probably not. I mean, that was crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm confident one day. One day may be a long ways away. The Raiders, John. What a win.
What a win.
Big Latavius Murray revenge game. What a win. Congrats. Somebody had to win, and somebody did. We just finished watching it.
Everyone's shitting on Nathaniel Hackett for that end of the game in regulation. Their quarterback makes $45 million. He's a Hall of Famer. Now, I know he's had a rough year, but if you can't depend on him to not be a fucking moron and just listen, we're going to put it in your hands because, again, we've guaranteed you $180 million. We should have some trust in you to make a proper decision. You can't just throw it to nowhere. Now, I can live with it hitting a guy's hands. He drops it like that's football, but you cannot do what he did. You have to just hit the ground, right?
I think he let the pass go thinking it was going to be an accurate pass.
Do you have to run it there? Let's even rewind. Because I think Hackett's going to get crushed for
I don't think you have to run it there, but I do think, for the people that said run it, hindsight is definitely on their side, given that not only did they not run it, Russ was not responsible with the ball. And then, about the time that was left. Now, I think the Raiders, the one thing I would say is I think the Raiders probably could have tied the game earlier had there been less time on the clock, right? Given Daniel Carlson's range. They got in field goal range with more time on the clock probably than Denver would have been able to burn. So it may not have mattered in the end. You agree with that?
I do think it changes the way you're thinking at
That's true.
1:15. Then you get 2-minute drive. That's a long time, even with no timeouts, just to get in field goal range. You have a lot of time on your side when you have a veteran quarterback who's not necessarily rushing.
I'm a big fan of go win the game, generally speaking. Now, I think that one was pretty easy to second guess even in the moment tonight. But just part of it is if Russ is a rookie quarterback and you decide to do that, or a second-year guy, the last thing you say to him is, hey, Russ, if there's nothing there, go down.
Well, yeah, I think if Zach Wilson's your quarterback, you just run the ball. He's making $45 million a year. He's a Hall of Famer.
Well, my point is, if you're deciding to throw the football, the last thing you say in his headset is, hey, if there's nothing there, just make sure the clock continues to run.
Well, I agree. My point is everyone, and by the time anyone listens to this, he could be relieved of his duties. He could get fired tonight. But I'm sorry, I have to put a large percentage of that on Russell Wilson. That is the lowest IQ throw I've ever seen from a guy I guess he's not technically in the prime of his career based on how he's playing, but he's 32 fucking years old. He's a 10-year NFL vet. He makes $45 million. I've seen him do it 7 million times.
Here's a question.
Is the guy just losing his mind?
If you make $45 million, does that mean you're a $45 million quarterback?
But he's been a $45 million quarterback
for
a long period of time.
I know.
And part of it's his mind.
Because I think
he's a smart player.
I think he once made that. Well, I mean, did he check out of that? Was there a run called and he checked to a pass?
Why? But my point is, if no one's there, just hit the ground. It's like basic football.
Well, I follow your point. I'm just saying, he doesn't. I don't think you can coach him like he's a $45 million player and trust him to do things that $45 million players do.
It's insanity if he just can't hit the ground. Because again, I could have lived with it would suck because when you call the play, you have to be prepared. This could be a play that works and our guy drops the ball, right?
Yeah.
I can live with a drop pass if I'm a fan or whatever, and we call the pass just over like it's football. I can't live with whatever that was. I mean, that was honestly the Raiders got lucky when Derek Carr threw a fucking lollipop and Simmons was running to Aspen.
Where was he going?
For a ski trip. It would have fallen right in his hands, Willie May style.
Where was he going on 3rd and 6?
Can you throw that ball through Derek?
Why was it so high? Was that intentional?
I just think that's Derek's deep ball. It's not. He did it again to Devontae. Derek just does not want to miss a deep ball throwing a liner.
Yeah, I love that we talked about this game, and it took until the end of the conversation to talk about the walk-off touchdown pass. A lot of time spent on Russell Wilson's decision and not the fact that the Raiders won a thriller, John, in a walk-off.
Well, Guy, if you're going to be 3-7 and
Yeah.
destined for 6 wins on the season, at least the guy you traded a first-round pick for is having, statistically probably the best year of his career. Couple more touchdowns, walk-off, 7 catches, 140 yards. I mean,
but 2 explosive touchdowns too. Like his 2 touchdowns were both explosive plays.
I mean, you're going to look up Devontae's going to have 100, 1,714. I mean, it ain't going to be his fault. They're 6-12 or 6 and whatever, 6-11.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. Yeah, he looks like every bit the value of what we probably could have traded more for him.
I was going to tweet this, have my man Azuki tweet it, but they ended up winning. It was hard to kind of construct the perfect tweet. Basically, like the Raiders, it almost feels like the opposite of when they traded for Randy Moss. They traded a lot for Randy Moss in his prime. They traded a lot for Devontae in his prime.
Yeah.
Randy Moss quit. Devontae actually tried, but the records never really changed. That's kind of what I was going with. But that was just a long way. And I also had another tweet when I thought they were going to lose. Like, this is what the Art Shell and Lane Kiffin's teams probably looked at, but none of us watched, and those that wanted to do the games were blacked out. But that was, again, held back.
Yeah.
I had some good ones in the hopper, Guy.
I think something tells me you'll have another opportunity to fire some of those off.
Don't you like this reminds me when I thought they were going to lose and it was like 10-0. It just felt kind of like a 17-3 game. This feels like the Art Shell, Lane Kiffin Raiders that no one witnessed beside Greg Papa and the 17,000 people that would attend those games.
Art Shell, especially, great reference.
Hashtag blackouts. That's what I was going to hashtag too. Blackouts.
That's pretty good.
But it also doesn't really work because they were on the road, right? Road games weren't getting blacked out then.
Avatar asked, "Is this a Raiders show?" Well, sometimes. Only when we think they're going to lose. Patriots beat the Jets 10-3. Zach Wilson was awful. I watched him. Let me give you a quick Zach Wilson stat. I looked it up because I'm watching the game going, I think part of the problem with Zach Wilson is that he thinks he's being a smart quarterback. I don't know if you caught it in that game. At the beginning of the broadcast, was that Ian Eagle and Charles Davis? I think it was whoever the analyst was, might have been Charles, said the last time the Jets played the Patriots this year, Zach Wilson was under 50% completion percentage. I looked, he was 48%. They're like, we talked to Zach, and he said that he wasn't worried about his completion percentage because the number the last time they played was misleading because 8 of his 41 attempts were throwaways. What he regrets was the 3 interceptions. And I'm like, first of all, I went, 8 throwaways? That can't be an accurate number. There's no way that's an accurate number. So I went to old PFF.
Didn't Jimmy Garoppolo have a stat that he had like 1 throwaway in 7 years?
I looked that one up. So Zach Wilson has 15 throwaways, but he throws that's the same numbers like Jalen Hurts, but he throws it way less than Jalen Hurts. Zach Wilson throws the ball away on 9% of his pass attempts. That feels like a lot. 1 out of every 10 is just a throwaway. So he thinks he's being smart, but really he's just making no plays. No plays. None. Walk off, basically punt return touchdown. Pretty thrilling finish in that game.
He's pretty terrible.
Was he ahead of Justin Fields on Kyle Shanahan's quarterback depth chart? Probably, or did he never?
It's hard to tell because Kyle can just. It's pretty clear Trevor was just number 1 universally on every board. He never really gets asked about Zach because he goes, "We already knew they were going to take him." And listen, Justin Fields. I think I saw Portnoy say today that Justin Fields. No one gets more credit for making some cool plays. Yet he's down late in the game, getting the ball back, and he loses every game.
Yes.
Today, he took a vicious shot. Like, who knows? Hopefully he didn't break his collarbone or whatever. He was getting carted off. But I do feel some of that because I was watching him thinking, like, this guy's going to lead the team right down the field. But they didn't even get to, like, the 50-yard line. But he is a very entertaining player to watch. My whole point is, Mac Jones today, like, the Patriots won. They scored 3 fucking points, right? I mean, the punt return, offense, yeah. Mac Jones has nothing to do with that. Now, he threw for a lot more yards than old Zach, who sucks. But Mac Jones is not much better. Now, he's better than Zach Wilson. But I watched Justin Fields again today, and I go, like, if you can't work with that, to have Mac Jones over that guy, it's why scouts, coach. Like, Kyle, just scheme your offense. Don't fucking pick the players. For the love of God. That honestly angers me when I just think about how mad some of the scouts have to be. Like, are we serious right now? Like, our coach is clearly pretty good. Like, he knows what he's doing. Are we really having this fucking discussion? Every discussion has to be had in a draft room or you're stupid. No, obviously Mahomes, some of those discussions never took place. But I understand, like, this guy likes him. We talk it out. But after we talk it out and we put some film on, like, guys, what are we talking about? What are we discussing here? As a buddy of mine who told me on another team 2 days before the draft, he's like, you know what's crazy? Now they have a star quarterback. We were just bullshitting in our draft room. This was like 2 days before that Niner, draft with all the quarterbacks. We're like, if Mac Jones, the Niners don't take him, and Bill doesn't take him at 15, we can't figure out where he's going. We're just having open discussions of just like, nerding out. Like we would.
You saying they were saying like if he fell at 28, would we take him?
Who's there to? No, his point is we would never waste our pick. We don't need a quarterback, but like who's catching him as he's dropping like a rock if Bill passed on him?
Bill in the second round, maybe, right? Or Kyle in the third round.
I just think Fields, man. Maybe I'm biased, but listen. They took Trey Lance, and I get it, and it's whatever. I mean, at least you took an athletic quarterback, not Mac Jones. But to have Mac Jones above Justin Fields and openly like talk about it, like it does look worse by the week, Kyle. Like it's one of those things like that is not a positive. It's honestly kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the fact that he still drafted an athletic guy, I think the Zach Wilson one would have, in hindsight, it could have been pretty crazy looking too. Because I think the Jets, he ain't it, man. He's not it. Now, Justin,
I'm not. It's only a year and a half into it. He stinks right now. But can you be a bust after a year and a half? It's not trending well.
No, you can't be
because that's how everyone's going to talk about him.
Yeah, I don't think you can be a bust, but I think internally, my guess is that they have to be pretty sure that they were wrong. And now any hope that you have that you were right is just hope because you haven't actually seen anything that leads you to believe it. Now, maybe if internally, like we love the guy, ride or die with this guy. Okay. Like right now, if Justin Fields was on the 49ers, I don't think we would know. Like, I don't think we know right now with Justin Fields either way. But clearly, people who didn't love him have to be more open-minded than they were before he was drafted. And if you liked him, I think you're pretty optimistic about him right now. Now, I still think it's a long way, right? Because every time I watch him, I go, this guy, oh my God. And then I look up his numbers and he's, not really that effective.
Part of it's right. He's playing with Dante Pettis and N'Keal Harry.
He's just out there trying to will his team to victories, right?
Laying it all on the line, right? Diving, jumping. If you watch him, and if you've watched football for a long time, whether you're rooting for him or a fan of him or not, and you're just a fan of football, you go, this is a fun, there's something there. Right?
Well, here's a fact, I believe. Tell me if this is a fact or a take. If you redrafted those quarterbacks right now, he would go at least 2. Maybe Trevor Lawrence 1, he goes 2.
I think Trevor Lawrence still going what you just
Yeah. But I'm saying he's going 2. Like he's going ahead of Zach Wilson.
Under no circumstances Zach Wilson going 2. And Trey Lance isn't going 3.
And the Niners I'm just saying,
could the Niners take the trade back?
undo, Control Z. I'm just saying, in the order of quarterbacks, first of all, you're right. Nobody is going 2 overall at quarterback, probably. I'm saying if we reordered the quarterbacks in that draft, Trevor Lawrence would be the first quarterback. Justin Fields would be, I think, the second quarterback draft.
I think the Jets would take Justin Fields. I think if you could do a redo, they would just take Justin Fields. They'd be crazy not to. Because you just put that version of what I've watched with Justin Fields with their team, right? They are really talented. I mean, their defense is awesome. You see Robert Saleh's quote after. He's like, we play like dog shit.
Garrett Wilson went on an opening rant, basically. Like,
you know how many yards of offense they had in the second half? Total yards.
How many?
Less than 3 and more than 1.
They had 2?
They had 2 yards of total offense in the second half. In a tie game, must win against. They have more talent than the Patriots, but their quarterback situation is an utter debacle. No, it's not like Mac Jones throwing touchdowns, so whatever.
No, he's not. Yeah. Rams fell to 3-7, John. Second week in a row for concussion or concussion protocol, concussion evaluation, whatever, for Matthew Stafford. Wild year for them.
Yeah.
Heavy McVay retirement talk coming this offseason. Maybe more.
I think Matt Stafford's career might be over. I think it's about all she wrote. And I think the Rams are completely fucked. And the Lions, who had a nice win today, got to be licking their lips. Not ideal for the Niners because, I mean, Seattle has a very good chance of sweeping them, right? If they got to play with Billy Parsons or whoever, Bryce Parkins, or who the fuck is that guy that they brought in to be the backup? I guess because what's his name? Wofford got hurt a couple weeks ago. I mean, they're fucked, bro.
Wait, you're saying you think Matthew Stafford would walk away from the money left on his contract?
I just wonder.
$27.5 million in cash next year. 31 in 2024 and 32 in 2025. The good news for the Rams is that they have an out in the contract after the 25 season. So,
well, he's already made like $300 million. And I mean, you start getting concussions, your arms falling off. Like, I just, he's pretty beat up for 34 years. He's already won the Super Bowl. Again, he is so rich. He made he got $70 million when he signed.
And yet I see him doing AT&T commercials.
Well, it's his first ever commercial this year, so he finally cashed in. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if McVay's back, Stafford has to be back. Now, if McVay retires, different animal. But I think Stafford has. I like if Stafford retires, how does why would McVay?
If McVay retires, like I'm sorry, I don't take the fucking guy seriously.
Yeah, but that's a separate topic. What I'm saying is, if McVay's back, then Stafford's back. Because there's no way. I don't think McVay, if he's flirting with retirement every year, is going to retire and have somebody other than Matthew Stafford be his quarterback, unless he can find somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, you retire on a 4 or 5 win season like that. That's a little bit of a legacy knock. Like I think McVay's a little stuck now for a couple years. I think the conversation is going to keep talking, but I think I heard Schrager last week say like he ain't going down like when the ship's fucking at the bottom of the ocean. You know?
Yeah, I agree with your take that it would not be good for that. It's bad for the legacy.
Like John Madden left when he was just winning. You know. He was just like, I'm worn out. Sean Payton was like, I just went 9-8 with 7 quarterbacks. You can only name 2 of them. You can't like leave 3-4 wins. Like, I'm sorry, Sean. No one looks at you quite the same.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't.
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, but I think ultimately he would still be able to go be whatever the number 1 analyst somewhere. And that's what he wants.
Yeah, he can do that.
He can still go do all that stuff.
Totally.
Because at the end of the day, like John Madden's coaching career never really came up for the last 35 years, right?
Yeah. But I mean, McVay's not going to get a video game,
No, but you understand what I'm saying. It's like all the stuff about McFadden's winning percentage, no one brought it up until he passed away.
But the difference, though, would be guys like Madden never came back, so he just became basically like Bob Costas, Marv Albert meets Al Michaels, but as an analyst, like this all-time.
Oh, you're saying you think McVay would come back?
Of course, 100%. Like he's not retiring forever.
Yeah, well then his legacy's not set in stone either.
Yeah.
I gave you my Lions, Giants take. Dallas kicked Minnesota's ass. Whatever. Commanders 6-5. We're on track for the Commanders to be a 500 team when the Niners play them. Before we talk about the Niners Cardinals game, John, let's tell the people about our friends at ButcherBox.com/ham. ButcherBox.com/ham. Right now, what does it get you? ButcherBox.com/ham plus code ham. Add that in. It gets you 2 10-ounce ribeyes free in every box for a whole year.
Oh, my God.
I thought it was just 2 10-ounce ribeyes. No, in every box for a whole year.
Yep, guy. Go right now, ButcherBox.com/ham. Is that the deal of the century? If that's not the deal of the century, I'd like to hear what the deal of the century is. Go pick your box. Go to ButcherBox.com/ham. Curate a good box. They got beef. They got chickens. They got fish. They got ribs. They got pork. They got it all. And when you use ButcherBox.com/ham and use the code ham, Black Friday, ButcherBox is offering our listeners one of their best steak deals. Get 2, like I said, 10-ounce ribeyes free in every box for a whole year when you join, plus an additional $10 off. Sign up right now at ButcherBox.com/ham and use the code ham. Do it right now.
100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork raised crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. It's all right there, like John said. Like I said, like John said. ButcherBox.com/ham and code ham. Free ribeyes for a year plus $10 off. ButcherBox.com/ham, code ham. Niners Cardinals. The Cardinals looking like a shell of themselves at this point. Hollywood Brown is out. Hollywood Brown, if you haven't been paying attention, like I went and looked at his numbers today. I didn't quite realize how good of a year he was having. Basically like 7 yards a catch or 7 catches per game. Sorry. He had a game this year against the Rams with like 14 catches. He went off. He's out. Hopkins questionable. Ertz out. Maybe McCoy playing, for better or worse. I don't know if that's good or bad at this point, but yeah, you're getting a shell of the Cardinals, who are giving up a home game to go play in Mexico City in front of what's going to be 80% Niner fans at elevation.
Did you see the stat that when they first started doing this or consistently going to Mexico City, almost 15 years ago, they had like quantitative ways to figure out how many fans that they thought they had in Mexico, 9 million. And now they think they have more than 40 plus million NFL fans south of the border. And what's funny is I was reading this Athletic article, like a large percentage of them are 49er fans, because we've always been told there might be a fan base that claim that they own the Latino population. It turns out it's just a bold-faced lie. It's a good, one of those that just feels correct, but it's actually not correct. And the 49ers own Mexico. And based on the numbers this week, obviously the overall fans they have, Mexico City is massive, but I'd say the Niners, you could argue that they're the biggest team in Southern California. Obviously, by the numbers, they're the biggest team in Mexico, and should be a home game for them against. You got to win this game. You're playing Colt McCoy with no Hopkins, no Hollywood, no Ertz. I would say this: you lose Ertz for the year last week. That's a big wow blow, right? Hopkins, who since he's come back has just looked like fucking Devontae. It's been awesome. Then he just gets hurt in that game. Now he's out. You just watch them play, even with Hollywood, who's been hurt. Those two guys, are a pretty potent crew. So I remove both those two guys. If Kyler could be 100% healthy, he could be 120%. You can't lose to this team, right? It's unacceptable. You cannot. In Arizona, in Mexico, in China, in Levi's, like this version of the team you're getting is because we talk shit about Arizona, and I'm the leader in the clubhouse because they are talented because they really are. If they rolled out with Hollywood, Hopkins, Rondale, James Conner, Kyler Murray, like they got
and the talent on their defense.
Yeah, that is not what Buda Baker is battling through this. Watching that second episode, like they didn't even think they were shocked when he came out to practice. Yeah, he was supposed to be gone for like 3 weeks.
The ankle. The other thing is the Seahawks are on a bye this week, John. Here's the Seahawks remaining schedule: Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Niners, obviously, Chiefs, Jets, Rams. So I would, the way the Rams are going right now, the Panthers, the Jets, the Raiders, right? Like the Seahawks could keep winning games. The Niners are 3-0 right now in the division. You win this game, you get to 4-0 in the division, right? With one Arizona game at home and one Seattle game on the road still coming. And you've mentioned this for a few weeks when they've been in these divisional games. 4-0 in the division, or then maybe 5-1 or whatever the case would be, right? It's pretty damn good. And you give yourself a great shot, not just to make the playoffs, but winning the division should be their priority still at this point. This Seattle team, as you pointed out last week, you should not lose out on the division with the roster that you built to a Geno Smith quarterback team. You just shouldn't. You've already beat them once. And, you're going to have to keep winning, though, because their schedule, unless they have like a Giants-type fall-off, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, maybe not quite to the degree of the Giants, because the Seahawks have just been a better team than the Giants have been.
And they have a little more high-end. They got 2 legit receivers.
Yeah. Yep. They can go score a bunch of points, but the touchdown interceptions right now for Geno, I think what did we look the other day? It was like 17-4 or something. It was off the charts. So they got to come down to earth maybe a little bit, but again, their schedule is they should keep winning games. So if you really want to go win the division, you got to go win this game. And then, by the way, you'll be 6-4. The Niners will be in first place if they win this game because they'll be 6-4. Seattle will be 6-4, and the Niners will have the head-to-head.
Here's what I will say: you win this game, you're 6-4. You're going to be, what would you guess? Sneaky. I think it's like 3.5, 4 hours from Mexico City back to San Francisco. But so it's a short week. But they're going to be a 6-7 point favorite against a terrible Saints team. This stretch, which I would say when the season started did not look that hard, looks a lot harder now. Dolphins, Bucks, Seattle Commanders. That's just a tough 4-game stretch with Dolphins playoff team. Bucks are going to win that division. Seattle, like you just described, and the Commanders are more than alive right now. I think a lot of people were just kind of taking Texans and the points was a sexy bet this week, right? Because short week, Commanders, Super Bowl, beat the Eagles. I watched a little bit of that game. They beat the shit. It was like 17-0 like that. Like they came to pound them. Now they are 11-9 when Heineke starts. They got Chase Young, who didn't come back in this game. Like that game looks. The good thing is you get all three of those teams. Obviously, you got to go to Seattle, but Dolphins, Bucks, Commanders all at home. And the Commanders game, players, you kind of live in a bubble, but it is on Christmas Eve. They're traveling along. Who knows? Maybe the Commanders are a little easier for the home team in theory, right? To kind of button down. Or you could argue maybe it's not. Maybe you got people coming, that week. I don't know.
Here's the other thing about the Cardinal game. That's a good observation, by the way. The other thing about the Cardinal game, remember the last time the Niners did their "we'll stay on the road" at the Greenbrier? That was before the Atlanta game. They go lose to Atlanta after that. Beat Carolina, then lost to Atlanta. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
So
I was in Atlanta.
I was at the Air Force Academy on Saturday, John. I was in Colorado Springs this weekend, not to see the Niners for Air Force football game. It was cold as shit, man. It was so cold. And I was like following, I saw, looking at pictures and just watching some of the press conferences. Being there myself, I think it was kind of weird that the Niners were there. Now, I saw Shanahan said they sent out an advanced crew. They said they got all the facilities here. We want to be at elevation. I don't know if you saw his quote. He said Alfredo Gutierrez doesn't really know the people in Mexico, so we can't trust his connections in Mexico City. We don't know if they had the facilities to go. Because someone was like, why don't you go to Mexico City early? Like, well, Alfredo didn't have the connections. So we sent some guys to Air Force instead to check it out.
Which I don't think you go to Mexico City for a week, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, but
I mean, guy, you can't drink the water. I mean, there's just some risks.
Yeah. So they for people who didn't follow the story, they went to Colorado Springs because
is that the 49ers Latino broadcaster?
No, that's the offensive lineman, like the 6'7" offensive lineman.
Okay, yeah. Because they do have a Spanish broadcast, correct?
Yeah, they do. I'm here to tell you, it was really cold. They practiced. I couldn't quite follow. I think they definitely practiced at two different locations because they practiced outside on grass, which is Air Force's practice facility. Air Force's stadium itself is turf. They might have practiced there as well. And then they definitely practiced at the indoor facility on Saturday. So I think maybe the upshot of being at elevation outweighs the fact that it was a weird week. But to me, it was a weird week. Like, you traveled twice. It was so cold, which it was just miserable. I had to psych myself up to go to the car. I went to dinner the other night. It was 6 degrees. 6.
So people live, guy. I mean, most.
I know, but my point is, if you were one of these players, to me, it would feel like a lot of hassle. That's my point. It's a very, habit-based week. It's about rest and recovery. I think rest and recovery was probably kind of difficult at Colorado Springs. Yeah, I think it was weird.
Do you see the clip of Debo not wanting to come out to the last possible second because it was so cold?
No.
He's like peeking his head out the locker room door, waiting for the whistle to blow, and then he was going to go.
I did not see that. That's funny, though. I forgot until I saw the photo, like McCaffrey, from the area. But, anyway, I just thought it was kind of being there. Like, I wouldn't have thought that had I not gone there. Going there, I'm like, this is a lot of planes, a lot of buses, a lot of cold, a lot of different practice. They're not even practicing at the same place every day. Like, zero habits. I don't know. Just kind of.
What would you have done? Just stayed at Levi's?
Yeah, I probably would have. Like, I don't know. Again, now they've got the elevation thing, so go do the elevation thing. I'm not,
which is a big deal.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying after doing my thought, having not gone, would have been, yes, this is obviously the right thing to do. And then just kind of seeing it all play out and experiencing the weather, my thought was, I would have at least raised my hand in the meeting and been like, I don't know, guys, is this a little much? Like, can we just go play the game? But
well, you don't go a week early when you're playing the Denver Broncos and they're at elevation, right? They're a mile high.
Yeah, they're not as high as they're 5,200 and something feet, and Mexico City's like 7,000 plus feet.
So Mexico City's really high.
Mexico City's high. It's like 1,000 plus feet higher than Colorado Springs.
Listen, I can't pretend to chime in about elevation. Beside, it obviously impacts you anytime you've ever gone to like Tahoe and like tried to run. It's no joke. So I understand the mindset, but you're right. I mean, the cold fucks you up, and at the end of the day, like, look at their games. Like, they don't have a cold game. Now, I don't know the weather in Mexico City, but Saints at home, Dolphins at home.
I think it's gonna be warm.
Bucks at home, at Seattle, but even that, it's rain. Commanders at home, Raiders in a dome, Cardinals at home. It's not like, well, they got to go to at least just get their mindset ready for that Pittsburgh-Cincinnati stretch in December. Like,
Well,
they're
not going to Lambeau in the playoffs this year, I think it's safe to say.
No. So, but let's say they were playing Philly in the second round, right? And Philly's 10 degrees at kickoff. They wouldn't go out to Philly 4 days early, right?
No.
They didn't go out to Lambeau last year early.
Josh on the stream says, as someone who lives at 7,000 feet elevation, the first few days are the worst.
Yeah.
Estadio Azteca. Where do you live?
Colorado.
7,000. Mark Florio. Mike Florio said that he talked to Ndamukong Suh, and Ndamukong Suh told him that his decision for free agency came down to two teams, the Eagles and the 49ers.
Okay, I regret saying that they weren't being aggressive. They were being aggressive on them because they needed to do that. I like hearing that they were in on it because that's the mindset you have to have instead of, like we said the other day, keeping your fingers crossed. Yeah. And did you see Armstead's out? So the broken fibula or tibula and the plantar fasciitis, they're trying to tease us, but it's every single week. It's out. Like it's, I don't know.
This is my not shocked face. I mean, we've been talking about this with this guy, ankles and both legs, both feet. Once I hear playing,
my thing would be,
and clearly they by the way
second.
weren't. Oh,
could you have signed Suh 3 or 4 weeks ago though?
You mean just like you should have recognized that Armstead wasn't coming back sooner?
Well, like ultimately the reason the Eagles did it is because they got 50 run plays called on them on Monday Night Football and they lost. The Eagles, if they had won that game and they wouldn't have been able to run the ball down their throat, they probably don't make the move. Like how he made the move in reaction to, like, do we have a run defense problem? Right? That's the Niners have just had a missing defensive tackle problem. Right? They just lack bodies. I mean, their two biggest bodies literally on the defense. One guy, his career might be over with his degenerate knee, and the other guy has two legitimate injuries. So it's like, you'd have to ask Suh, like, was he waiting to the last possible second? Or could this deal have been done 2-3 weeks ago when Howie wouldn't have been as aggressive? He has no reason to be when they're 6-0, 7-0, and like things are going well. To me, the signings were a reaction to what happened Monday night. The 49ers have been in this position without these two players. Feels like I haven't seen Kinlaw for 7 years, and Armstead's been injured now for a long time.
Armstead's missed half of the games they've played, hasn't he? At least.
Forever.
Not Tehran Armstead's game log, internet. Eric's played in 3 games, John. So, yeah, he last played against the Rams in the first game. That was October 3rd. It was a month and a half ago.
I just would have done this earlier.
Yeah. It does make you feel a little better, I guess. Here's a take for you. Not a take. Here's a stat for you. I saw this NFL.com today. The headline, is Cordell Patterson a Hall of Famer?
Someone DM me that, actually.
I was like,
I wonder
what?
if they saw it.
On Sunday, he reached an all-time NFL mark when he returned his 9th career kickoff for a touchdown. It went 103 yards. That's more than Devin Hester, Josh Cribbs, Mel Gray. It was his 7th career touchdown of 100+ yards per NFL research. No other NFL player has more than 3 ever, and he has 7 100+ yard touchdowns.
He's a phenomenal athlete.
Isn't that incredible? Hester gave us $10, so I'll read his super chat. Fields does look good. I agree with the take, but he simply wouldn't fit Kyle's offense. He's basically playing backyard football, which coaches do deserve flowers. Give him his flowers for allowing him to play to his strengths.
Well, what was Trey? Couldn't run it, right? It was like, well, Kyle didn't just created an offense for him to run around. Well, at least Fields can do that.
Yeah, so
Fields is going for 80, 90 yards every game now.
The difference is, to me, what actually is appealing about Fields is the backyard element of football is what you're trying to get when you get a mobile quarterback. Like a mobile quarterback simply for the purpose of running zone read and letting him run power 3 times a game. It's not the point of getting a mobile quarterback. The point of the mobile quarterback is that when you, the coach, have called a play that isn't working, you cannot reach onto the field and move the pieces on the chessboard around. Somebody has to make the change in the middle of the play. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's the part that the ad lib nature with Trey
Zach
Lance.
Wilson.
Zach Wilson. The ad lib nature of Trey Lance. That's the part we all want to see. I don't want Trey Lance to come back so I can watch him fucking run the ball 12 times. I want to watch him run around and throw the ball.
Totally agree.
All right. We'll be back Monday night. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. That was a nice, quick, tight. We're aiming for 30, but 40. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Later.
Good job, Raiders.